Okay, apparently we are streaming now, so let us see. Dropped frame 0? Okay. Oh, lagging a bit there, Christin.
Quite a bit. I am playing on... Oh, I have a potato in front of me.
A potato?
Yeah, it's flipping one of those old-ass laptops.
Okay, well, we are live currently. I don't want to sit around for too long before we start the show. Just for anybody who is here, apologies, we were late. Maybe I should post that on Twitter too. That might be a... cool. So
Delayed start.
Delayed start due to the potatoes, guests that I've got on this week. Okay. We're just going to wait a little bit before we go, because definitely not good to start the show with nobody. Probably because they were waiting around and we went live at 8, as it happens. BurningRed, you're sitting so still over there, man. It's eerie.
Indeed, I am. I had camera failure. There we go. I'm just going to blame it on that.
But BurningRed doesn't sleep. He waits.
I guess.
You're the best candidate for like those crappy Chuck Norris jokes in South Africa, to be honest.
This is true.
BurningRed so fast he can run around the world and punch himself in the back of the head.
I'm just going to laugh. I'm not even going to comment.
Ridiculous jokes. Why not?
Okay, there we go. We are still streaming. Oh, we have a whole one person watching. Look at that.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Yeah, it's unfortunate. When you start things on time, generally, we tend to peak lately at 20 odd viewers, which isn't bad for a local stream. So let's see. Maybe we will get a few guys on, but I think we'll give it another minute and then we'll do the official intro to the show. So as for lateness, potato guests. That's going in the chat, guys. Get it.
Oh, and I even had a hat and everything ready. I was gonna put it on and pretend to be you for a little while.
Pretend to be me. Jeez, why would you
No,
inflict such horrors upon yourself?
Look at that. That's so cute. Look at that. It's exactly like yours.
Oh wow. Well, I challenge you to bring that hat to Rage. I want that hat. I'll wear it.
Deal.
Are you coming to Rage?
Well, apparently we're supposed to be going to Rage, but we'll see. I think I'll make time to come anyway, even if we're not going.
Okay, well, I tell you what, if you bring that hat with, I will take a selfie with you wearing that hat.
Deal. It's done now.
Cool. And Nate, again, sitting still. He's like a chameleon stalking its prey, just sitting against the green background, hoping to turn green himself.
Solid, dude. The best. The best you could ever get out of a still figure.
A still figure, yes. Okay, well, I think now's a good time. Stream looks healthy. I'm feeling healthy despite my many ailments at my advanced age. So I think we're healthy to go. I don't have many ailments. I'm very healthy. Just remember, Profeci, we want to see more of your face. Come on, camera movement.
What?
There we go. You gradually sink as the broadcast happens, and then we got Profeci eyes.
Stalking someone, I guess.
Cool. Well, I think we will start at this point, guys. So, CS greetings, CSGOers. I am Extremes. This is CSGO Deeper, sponsored very kindly, very benevolently, awesomely by Aperture PC. I'm joined by Profeci. How are you doing, sir?
Fine, thanks, and yourself?
Superb. And we've got Christin from Energy Finesse. How are you doing, madame?
I'm great, thanks to yourself.
Same answer. And,
Same answer.
There we go. And then we've got a very still sitting BurningRed. He's afraid to move. I think he pinched a nerve in his neck or something, a neck in his nerve. How are you doing, BurningRed?
I'm great. It's not actually a neck issue. If
you need help, blink twice.
I can't blink. It's no, it's not gonna. I'm great. Thank you.
Cool. Well, Sorry for the lateness, guys. We started a little late due to some guests having issues. Both guests having issues with webcams, hence why we've ended up with a still image of Burning Red. Also, I was just recording the podcast video for the first time, and that also just finished right before we had to start this. So a few little logistical issues, but we will get going nonetheless. So I think to start us off this week, let's go with a little bit of ESL Africa, because that's something we always talk about, because there's three of us here in this particular broadcast who work on ESL Africa from time to time, or all the time if you mean Burning Red.
Pretty much,
yeah.
Yep.
So we'll start with you, Nate. In Energy and Bravado both qualified from South Africa, and then we had the North African teams, Limitless and Vibera. What do you think the chances going into Rage? I mean, the finals are next week at Rage. What do you think the chances are for those North African teams versus the South African guys?
Well, look, I mean, at least from my perspective, I think it's a bit of a 50-50, to be honest. I almost feel like the South Africans are very much methodical and kind of a little slower, I guess, from a strategical point of view than the North Africans. Less aggression, but they do have a little tad of it in their play. However, it kind of it almost counters each other from a strat perspective. It's very difficult to say that the North Africans have a great chance, and it's very difficult to say that they've got no chance. It's kind of a 50-50, really, because we don't actually know as to if the North Africans are going to completely decimate the South Africans. I mean, there are theories behind it, and the same with the South Africans, there are theories behind it. But look, I've got my own opinion on it, of course, and my opinion is the fact that the North Africans are more exposed to different teams and different styles compared to the South Africans. They do have somewhat of a better chance, I guess, in taking the championship.
Oh, okay. Well, you don't have to be diplomatic here. You can even swear on this broadcast, I promise.
No, it's just my straight up opinion on it, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to look at it. Christin, have you managed to catch much of the ESL Africa's previous season? Ooh, putting you on the spot,
but the fangirl, obviously. No, definitely. I mean, I watched obviously all the Energy games and love keeping up with Bravado and stuff like that. So it's been really nice. And not only have I been watching just like the local games, but it's been nice to see the North African games. And like, I really do think that they'll bring in definitely a new scene to have to deal with, especially South Africa having to deal with playing the same people in the same pool the entire time. It's really going to bring some difference in there. And I think, I dare say it, I'm kind of hoping for a North Africa versus South Africa final, like proper, like going head to head.
Yeah, agreed.
I think that's actually relatively likely. What do you think, Prof?
Well, I mean, given how we've seen, I mean, I hate to say it, but Energy hasn't looked as fantastic as they did in season 1. They seem to have like peaked with that ESWC win, and it's not that they've been bad, it's just they've looked distinctly a step below where they were last year, or I mean, last season, and that's just, I'm a bit worried, especially against Limitless for Energy, because they've been struggling, I think, of the Energy boys, and I can't see any way for them to fix it at the moment.
Ooh, Burn, what do you think there, Christin? Has he just burnt your team, trashed them, and he basically put them in the back of a dump truck, set the dump truck on fire, and drove it over a cliff there?
That's fun. They can go through dips and dives, but obviously a roller coaster reaches its pivotal points when it's mostly needed to. So we'll see what Energy brings to the ground, because I actually have a different opinion. I think that Bravado is starting to go down, but obviously different people are opinionated, so...
Okay, so Mr. Nate, if we do end up with that whole North versus South final, that's probably the best thing that could possibly happen for the broadcast, I would imagine. I mean, you're the broadcast manager for ESL Africa. You're also on camera quite a bit. I'm sure that would be like the dream scenario, right?
Yes, but before I comment on that, I have to agree with Richard there. That photo does look like I am Ron Swanson in that episode where he had a hernia. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, it's pretty spot on. But going back to your
Parks and Rec.
Going back to your statement there, well, at least what explain to the viewers, of course. I look from a broadcasting point of view. We obviously want the best, yes, the best of the best. Like, be it 2 South Africans, be it 3. Sorry, not 2, 3. Be it 2 North African teams. It doesn't matter. As long as the best CS is being played at the ESL African Championships, that is what the viewers want to watch, and that is what they want to see. Obviously, each region has got their support base, and I do feel that what we are going to see is a North versus South final. I'm very, very positive about it.
Okay, well, I think the likely scenario, I've got to agree with Prof, and I'm not supposed to agree with Prof, because we know the golden rule when we're on a panel together, don't agree with each other, and we always end up doing it. But I kind of think like Energy have looked a little weaker lately. I mean, it also feels like Bravado haven't necessarily gotten any better either. I mean, I don't know if Bravado fans really want to hear that either, but it doesn't feel like the teams have really pushed on from the first season from a South African point of view, because I mean, we had 2 teams that looked really very good at a very similar level to each other, and then we've seen Bravado now stomp on Energy lately, but not really look that good doing it, which I mean seems a little to me a little odd. But I do feel like Bravado will be a bit too strong for Vibera. But Limitless Energy, I mean, Limitless apparently beat LDLC the other day in some scrims. That doesn't always mean anything, but at the same time, you know, that's a team that always used to stomp all over Bravado. So, you know, a French team. So I think their relative level's probably pretty high. So I think Energy can win it, but as to whether they will is the other question. It's really hard to see, but I think I'd edge it slightly towards Limitless at this point.
Yeah. I mean, if Energy can find Godster again, I don't know, he seems to have disappeared into the wilderness. If they can find him, they have a much better chance. But at the moment, he's a bit missing, which is a sad state of affairs for the Energy guys. But yeah, I mean, like otherwise, I do think like I will say that like Energy can do it, but I've just like this season, what I've seen from Energy, I haven't been as impressed as I was earlier in the year. It just seems like they've sort of hit a plateau and they can't really figure out where to take that next step.
Just get Sonic sorted. Steering, brown arm, you know, all of that stuff. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point, Prof. It has looked like they plateaued a little bit. And I also want to, when we're doing the semi-final, I think I'm doing the Energy game. So I'd really want to shout Dumpster, but you know, I kind of hope that he does dumpster people so that I can shout that. That'd be good.
Well, certainly is a possibility.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Indeed. Nate, your mic is distorting a little bit. It has been since the beginning, but if you can just double check on that. You know,
cool.
Stop goggling with your mic.
I'll fix that quickly.
Cool. So, looking at a couple of other subjects around the ESL Africa thing. I mean, Christin, you're part of the Energy organization. Have you had any opportunity to? I mean, you play for the Finesse team, obviously. Have you had any opportunity to talk to the main team and see how the guys are feeling about ESL Africa? Are they feeling like they've got this in the bag, or they're worried? They're working hard. What are they doing?
They've actually been so busy with practicing. Like every single time I want to go and talk to them, obviously have a chat with Robbie and stuff like that. They've just been grinding the whole time. And I think that they're really putting their hearts into this and actually trying now. Because definitely Robbie being in the team with a new perspective on things, the whole international experience and stuff like that, is bringing in new dynamics into the team. And Robbie has so much to teach. And Robbie being Black Poison for those that don't know him. But he has so much to teach, and he can only get groups gradually on things that happen like that. So I think, and I don't want to sound biased, but I do think that plateau is because of how much work they are putting in just to get the grasp of it. And I think as soon as they do, I think they're going to skyrocket quite high, especially with Dom. I think Dom is one of the, actually, dare I say, I do think Dom can be better than Sonic any day.
I would not actually disagree. It's a big statement, but I mean Dom does have it within him to be that good. The problem I think he has versus Sonic is that Sonic is always just like no matter what that good, whereas Dom is like there and then the next game a little bit off and then the next game there, you know. So if he can find that consistency, I feel, I mean, they have a different play style as well. So, you know,
Very different.
you know, I wouldn't say that he's a Sonic necessarily by his style, because he's generally a more aggressive player. But at the same time, if he can hit that consistency, maybe it'll work. I don't know. What do you think, Prof? I mean, is maybe the fact that Dom is a little bit more aggressive than Sonic why sometimes he doesn't get those sorts of levels of performance? You know, Sonic being a bit more passive, waiting for people to come to him.
I mean, I haven't seen much of it this season. It just looks as though Domster isn't really firing. You know, it's like he's still good, and I would say that he's, in comparison to season 1, his how can I say it? Like his floor has lifted, but he's like he's had less lows than he had in season 1, but he hasn't like taken that step to the next level consistently. Like we didn't see that game towards the end of season 1 where he just like decided that BVD was losing tonight, and there was no way you could tell him that wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So like we just haven't seen that Domster since I think probably just before ESWC. He was looking fantastic, and then at ESWC he was there or thereabouts, but it was mostly Black Poison and Flexi doing most of the heavy lifting. Mm-hmm. And then throughout the whole of season 2, Domster's like he's always been good, but never been like that Domster that we saw towards the end of season 1, where he clearly was just the ultra carry on that team when they needed him to be. And that's a little bit disappointing, because I don't know what's causing that. The team has sort of like they've slowly changed their map pool. Maybe that does affect him a bit, but I still can't see any real reason for him to be that good for a sustained period and then just suddenly disappear.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. Do you have any inside information for us there, Christin, as to why that might be?
I do want to comment about like the whole of versing Domster and Sonic together. Like, it's really hard to come into a position where you can actually analyze both of them, because they do actually play different roles. I mean, Sonic like leans towards more of a lurking position, where Dom can be second entry or support.
Takes a bit more contact. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I think his game style is more aggressive. It's because he's pushed to be aggressive, whereby Sonic has Fady and JT running in and giving him the information plays. They just have to run in no matter if they die or not, but knowing Fady and JT will probably take a few down. But knowing that, they know exactly, Sonic knows where to put his crosshair, and he just needs to walk out with his gun firing. I think with Dom, that's why he's so aggressive and plays like that. But hopefully, like, we see him settle in now and actually start fragging properly and actually reach his potential, because I don't know if it's game nerves, like any of that, but hopefully they actually do show up for ESL and that it actually is a really good match, because as much as I'm wanting a North Africa and South Africa, I'm really pushing for South Africans to take it, just because it will put us on the map.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. Mr. BurningRed, the director of all things that need directing at ESL, except the show, as it turns out. But I mean, for you, you've been on every broadcast, as have I. So snap on that one. I mean, you've seen a lot of action between these two teams that we're mentioning, the two South African teams.
Yeah.
Between Sonic and Domster, I mean, where do you stand on that? Do you reckon Sonic's the best, Domster dropping off? I mean, do you echo what the other guys are saying?
So before I actually jump onto that point, I actually want to go back onto something that you mentioned around Black Poison. That guy, when I started playing CSGO competitively back in 2012, 2013, he played with us in a team. And what was quite amazing to see, or what is quite amazing to see, is the fact that he's taken a team such as the Energy side and he's managed to lead them. And he's changed his entire scope his entire mindset, basically, as an IGL for the team. Where back then, he was very much a free-roaming kind of renegade type of guy, or rebel in the team. We would literally just say, cool, Robbie, go do what you want. You can play the lurk role. It's cool. We'll take 4 guys into the B-bomb site, and you'll try and take out as many guys as you want. And we'll leave him. we literally won't do anything with him. We won't command him, or at least kind of force him into a corner, which is quite interesting to see how he has actually grown as a player up until now, where we're sitting 2017, 5 years later. He's an IGL for Energy, and he's structured that team so well that they are performing at an unbelievable pace. I mean, how many months has it been? It's not been a full year. It's been a couple of months. This Energy team now is almost neck and neck with Bravado, in my opinion. Talking about the Sonic versus Domster scenario.
We're waiting.
Go
on.
It's true. The two of them have completely different roles. They're two great aimers. They can spray control very well. They can one tap very well. It's very difficult to kind of put them up against each other. Although it seems that majority of people are putting them up against each other because, well, they're both kind of clutch players.
There's this idiot who made a video about them.
Yeah. Anyway.
Come on, so, no political speak.
I think, look, I have to be honest. If you're going to put the two of them together,
you're under oath.
If you're putting the two of them together, if you're putting Sonic versus Domster, no offense to Domster, sorry, but Sonic is just going to wreck him. Like, hands down. It's true. Looking at the performance that Sonic is dealing out at the moment, and let's be honest about it, compared to Domster, it's like chalk and cheese. I mean, you can't really have a comparison between the two at the moment. Domster is just not firing completely. I mean, when he gets into dumpster mode, like we like to call it, then yes, then you can put them on, like, against each other and say neck on neck. You don't actually know who's going to take it. But right now, at this very current moment, Sonic will wreck Domster. It's the unfortunate thing, and for the Energy team. But we don't know what will happen. We don't know what will happen at the finals. Let's also be honest.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, we would have to see what actually happens. I think on current form, you're probably right. I do think you're going to get an email or two tomorrow, but that's an aside. For our viewers, if you guys have got any questions about CSGO in South Africa or internationally or anything, you're welcome to ask. We do take questions, so that is possible. So staying on here, South Africa, for just a little bit longer before we move on, I think with the tournament as a whole, I mean, it's been nicely presented, nicely broadcasted. So, I mean, for you, Nate, I mean, you're the guy in charge of how everything is going to end up. I mean, the creative director, or I mean, how many titles do you have? You've got a few, but
no, I've actually just got one.
Oh,
it's the esports technical manager, but yeah,
the technical manager. Okay, there we go.
However you want to pronounce it.
So, I mean, it's been a good spectacle so far. I mean, obviously, I've been on the broadcast, so I would say that, but I think the quality of the broadcast has been amazing. Is it going to be even cooler at the actual finals at Rage next week? Is it going to blow our minds? What's it going to look like?
All I can say, literally, give you a short answer is yes, it will. It will.
Okay.
It's going to blow the people out of the water.
Awesome.
It's a live event. I mean, come on. Like, you can't compare a studio broadcast to a live event. But what you can do is at least take the quality and transfer it over to the live event and paint the picture yourself. And that's basically what you're going to get. I mean, there's a lot of homework that's been put into this event. It's not just, how do I say, like a little kind of like shoot from the hip type of approach. There's been planning behind this. And it goes with any international event. It goes with any big event. You have to do the planning, and it's not just from one or two particular people. I mean, the entire team that we are, the ESL team, the guys at Quese, we all like putting a lot of planning and preparation for. It's going to be good. That's all I can say.
Cool. Well, I mean, I must also put it out there that myself and Prof don't actually know what it's going to look like or anything, because we don't work for Quese, so freelancers. So I'm legitimately interested in what it's going to be like. And thanks for that, Nate. That was diplomatic. You didn't give away too much, but you definitely made us pretty excited, I think. Thank you, sir.
Well,
all I've seen is that one concept picture of the stage, and I was like, that looks pretty.
I haven't even seen that. That's
not
awesome. Fair, man. Where did I get the concept image?
No, you had to be at the studio at the time, so get wrecked, mate. I guess.
He was at the
But
studio.
it did look pretty crazy. Yeah, it did look pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, Christin, you've seen the announcement of Moses and Pansy. That's a pretty exciting thing. I think a lot of people are excited about it. Are you a fan of this?
I would be.
You would be? Okay, wait. Not favorite casters. Okay, well.
Well, I'm quite biased when it comes to my casters. I like quite a few, and I'm quite set on them. So, we'll see.
Okay. Okay, well, I was expecting, like, tremendous gushing about Moses and Pansy, and I didn't get it, so, you know.
There's no Sadicist. You have to wait for Sadicist.
Yeah, Sadicist is, I mean, I'm not into men, but he's a hot man. Just saying. And he's pretty good at what he does.
You definitely would. Don't even lie.
And maybe he's one of the few men I would. I don't know, but okay, somebody's going to totally like record that little bit and just like play it on a loop. And
Yeah, meme you out, dude. You're gonna get
Axes into
memed
men
out.
2K17. Okay, so I mean, if not, well, let's actually ask the question there, Christin. If not Moses and Pansy, favorite casting duo from your side?
This is, see, now you're going to get controversial here, and I'm going to say something that someone doesn't like.
That's what this is all about. Say whatever you like. Go for it.
I don't know, like, I personally, like, I think there's definitely some South African, even people that aren't being noticed at the moment that should be casters. Like, I think there's lots of undiscovered talent, like SLP. I think the guy's amazing, and he should really be casting more games and stuff
Played
like that.
against him, never heard him casting.
You should really, like, one day if you're just playing like a casual with him, just tell him to cast for you. It's really something to watch. And then definitely, like, I like the G-Max, Tiny, obviously Extremes, can go on. Anyone that
I was mentioned
casted one of our games kind of thing. Okay. I know, I've enjoyed it. It's like worth going back and rewatching games, not because I want to see that game style, but actually because of casters and stuff like that. So I've definitely enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. My name was mentioned. We can stop the the broadcast there, and put a line under it. So to answer the question of a certain penguin, how is Nate not moving a muscle? It is due to a hernia. Anyway,
yes, it's a hernia. Go watch the the Parks and Recreation episode where Ron Swanson's got the hernia. Exact scenario.
Where he's like got a cheeseburger on the desk and he's trying to throw it at his face.
And he like
without moving.
Flicks it to his face. And then like he asks his assistants like, "Oh, please pass me the lunch." And she's like, "What is this? Some power trip or something?" He's like, "No, just."
Because
just
it's like literally 10 centimeters away from him on the table. Such a good episode.
It's funny that like that came up because I actually watched like this clip on YouTube last night, the Ron Swanson "Be Like a Man" clip, which got half an hour of like Ron Swanson quotes or like skits, and I'm just sitting there and I'm like, gosh, yeah, I need the Swanson chart of excellence or whatever he calls it. I need to get myself one of those.
The pyramid of excellence. It's a pyramid.
There we go. Yes, yeah, it's the pyramid.
I actually think in South African esports there is only one Ron Swanson equivalent, and it is yourself, actually.
No, I'm not equivalent to that guy. That guy's like, he's like the next echelon of men, you know, like
manly man.
No. But thank you. I appreciate the compliment.
I think you just need to get yourself a magnificent moustache, and then you'll pretty much be there.
I can grow one, but we'll have to wait for November for that. Try and see how it looks like.
After the
keep the kids away from him, boys.
Yep, definitely gonna look like a sex offender. Just saying. Okay, so now that we've hit that particular high point in this broadcast, we'll move away from ESL Africa a little bit. Let's go to Rage in general now. I mean, the other big tournament that's happening, and don't worry, Nate, we won't keep it here too long. You know, we don't want you recoiling in horror, but we will talk a little bit about the VS tournament as well.
I've got no quarrels about it. Please go ahead.
Ooh, the diplomacy.
Well, don't.
I'm just giving you crap, man. So you expect that from me, right? I mean, we've known each other for a while. So I mean, at Rage,
you have to move if you're not lying.
Exactly. So I mean, at Rage, we've actually got 2 VS tournaments happening. We've got the VS CS:GO Masters as well as DGC, and DGC's for all the other titles, the League of Legends and Dota 2 and Hearthstone, and all the other things. The CS:GO one, on the other hand, is about 500k. It's their top 8 teams. I guess the tournament as a whole, what I'll say about it is that it's the best chance for DC to win a title in CS:GO and revisit their glory days from 1.6 that they've ever had.
Yo.
Ooh. Okay, so
no, look.
Yeah.
I think I would agree with that. They're coming in as the first seed, so I mean it's basically all set up for them. I mean, I was speaking with the manager Lagbees this morning, and he says that apparently the guys, from what I understand, he said that they demolished Big Five in a couple of scrims last night, which I think stands them in good stead, because Big Five has, especially in the last month or two, really taken it to DC in particular and figured out a way to consistently beat them. So the guys obviously they have a lot more time to practice now, so they're getting things in place, and then obviously it does happen that Ep4 Gambit, our third member of the podcast here, he's decided that he work danes him that he needs to go and study or something. I can't remember what it is, but what I remember is somewhere without any internet for 2 weeks, and he's just like, "Are you serious? This is like a week before Rage." So yeah,
that's actually why
he's going to the bush.
Yeah, no, he's actually out at the coast, shall we say?
Okay, not going to the bush,
but not the nice coast. So just putting it out there.
So
yeah, I mean that is unfortunate for them, eh, Prof? No real.
It's very unfortunate
without Gambit.
Well, I mean, from what I understand, each of the guys has been given their basically personal homework and all the rest, where they need to go and study, especially their own demos, to go and figure out things, because the guys do realize that it's given the state of the teams going into the event, it's DC's tournament to lose, and I think that if they, so long as they don't stuff around with that and make absolutely damn certain that they cover each of their bases, I think DC should win and pick up a long deserved and I think overdue DGC win as that. I mean, when was the last time they won at Rage? It would have been sometime in the 2000s.
Yeah, probably not even in the 2010s, so a long time ago, which is crazy. I mean, if you think about it, but they do have multiple 1.6 titles. So, Christin, I saw you smiling there at the DC prediction. Do you have a different prediction for VS Masters at Rage?
I think I'm just the devil's advocate tonight, just agreeing with a whole lot of stuff.
Devil.
I actually think, yeah, thanks. I see it fits. But anyway, I like. So, just the thoughts. There's a reason Big Five have done so well against DC is because since the 2000s, DC hasn't changed their game style. They still play slow. They still play very passive. And that's where you can get them. And that's why I think so many teams have started figuring that out with them. And they're only now starting to counter that. To be honest, I think that DC would be an absolutely great team and could be keeping up with bravado and energy if they had to just bring in a younger player that would change their game style. I'll probably say it's Massacre. They had to bring Massacre in and just replace Massacre into the team. I think that they would do really well because bringing a little lighty like that, who's got lots of game knowledge and has that enthusiasm, they say it will make the old people get up and actually do something.
The controversy it would cause in that team. Having Massacre with the DC guys. Wow.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm just saying, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, maybe...
No, it would.
Maybe that particular example, but I get the concept that you're saying. And actually, in a conversation I had with Ep4, not on a broadcast, but he was actually saying that very thing. They need an injection of somebody young and exciting, crazy aimer who can help them lift their game again. So I actually amazingly totally spot on with what he said to me is where their thinking is. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change anything. I mean, they are DC. They might know this would be a good idea. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to change.
Definitely. You can't teach a old dog new tricks. What's that?
Yeah.
I don't know. But no, I actually, my predictions, I'm actually favoring the new XTC lineup I think that bringing in Zip Zip and Maniac and stuff like that, I think that they're actually quite a team to look at. If not now, definitely in the near future. I do think that they'll come in guns blazing.
Yeah, I think your point also about the passive play style, it feels like the dead horse that we flogged to death so much that there's no life left in it on when we're talking about DC on the panel in the last 2 seasons of ESL Africa. So it definitely is an issue for them. Nate, I mean, you're the ultimate hashtag Believe DC fanboy. What do you think their chances are? Do you think they need to change up their play style a bit?
Well, oops, sorry. Yes. It's simple. Like, they do have to change their play style. They have been doing it throughout the years. I mean, if you look back late 2013, 2014, they kind of, there's a lot of elements today that you can still see that they used back then. I mean, when I went back to a lot of the previous broadcasts that I did back then, the only difference now with damage control is the problem is that their players aren't as skilled on the aiming department anymore compared to the rest of the teams. It is a big problem for them because if you really look at it, you've got Hellhound that blows hot and cold quite often. He used to be on top. He used to be the amazing fragger back then. But today, it's difficult for DC to try and take on the youngsters because the youngsters have got the aim. They've got the snap aim. They've got the spray control of gods, basically. It's very difficult for guys like DC to try and counter that. So what do they do to try and beat a team? Well, they're going to have to go to kind of like a Navi style of play, I guess, slow methodical play, but it has to be a lot more tactical than just running out, guns blazing, trying to get entry frags, like on a particular
30 seconds
box
to
side.
go.
Yeah, something like that, I guess. But they're going to have to play mind games against their opponents, the youngsters. They're going to have to try and do things where they maybe force rotate them. Because a lot of the younger teams, if you look at Big Five, if you look at
It's
Flip
amazing
Side,
when
if you
one
look
calls
at
Big
Goliath,
Five a younger team. It's crazy.
they
Compared to
are-
DC,
When I mean by a younger team, they've got elements of young players in
Yeah, I know what
compared
you
to
mean.
DC.
It's
Yes.
just illustrates
For
just
the
how
viewers
old
out there.
DC is.
But what DC would essentially do against a team like the Big Fives, Goliaths, etc., is they would need to play mind games with them. They would have to try and force rotations, for example. I mean, that's just to start it. Like, almost try and push them to make mistakes and then capitalize with that. That's what damage control needs to focus on, because if they want to, remain top 2, they can. That's the thing. They've got the ability to do it. They've got good enough aiming, good enough strat play to do it, but they're also very default in certain plays. And I think if they change things up, which they have been, and I have seen it, and it has shown in broadcasts, it will change it for them, as they move forward.
Yeah, I think those are good points. I mean, probably part of the issue for DC is the fact that they just don't practice as much as the other guys or have the game time of what other players tend to have, which I think means that their level has never really progressed. I mean, you mentioned earlier in what you were saying that they were dominant aimers. They're not that anymore. And I don't even know if they've really dropped off that much. It's just that other people have, reached their level and surpassed them in a lot of ways. And I think
Exactly.
a lot of that is game time and practice. So we've got Aaron van der Walt commenting. I think that's Slowy, actually.
Confidence.
If I think he says confidence, yeah. I mean, that is a good point, because
Very good.
they do actually look sometimes like they feel, playing BVD or whatever, that they don't have a chance, which isn't a good way to approach a game. But let's see if they can turn it around. I mean, if I have to put another name out there of somebody who could maybe win VS Masters, I'd say XTC could have a chance at it. They seem to be taking it very seriously. They've looked massively better in the last 3 weeks than they looked when the lineup change happened. I mean, Christin, you're the most active player amongst us right now. I mean, you've probably played a little bit with the XTC guys. I mean, have you seen that preparation, bearing fruit?
Definitely. Like, obviously, as soon as you bring something new into a team, obviously you have to get used to it. You have to regain that synergy with whoever you brought in. And obviously you're going to seem shaky as soon as you change a lineup. But I didn't specifically have much respect for the old XTC lineup, because it was through their game style, just pure aggression of I'm just going to out aim you. I'm not going to I'm not going to fake rotates. I'm not going to pull rotates. Nothing like that. It was just like, I can beat you. I can out aim you. Let me just take an aim duel against you. Definitely now there's that element of let me be like cocky in a sense and take that aim duel, but also let me play wise and let me have that game sense in it. And I think that's really working out now. And I think they are trying to find that sweet spot. And I definitely do rate that XTC could take it if they really just put themselves to it. And definitely the way that those boys have been just practicing and putting the time in now, I think they might be set out to do it, especially if DC don't have the time and Apocalypse isn't around. It does make a difference.
Yeah, it could be. It could be something. Prof, I mean, your thoughts on the remaining teams, including XTC. I mean, who do you see there has the best chance? Is it XTC of taking it away from DC?
I think XTC is a reasonable bet. The playstyle that Zin tends to run can often be just sort of get into that slug match with DC, and I just don't know if DC is really ready for that kind of thing. But I'd say an outside bet is maybe XD. They still have a lot of the same skill that they had in the previous season. I mean, obviously the loss of Spoof is massive, but if they can get that team firing. I mean, we've seen what Makmur has done before. We've seen what a lot of those guys are capable of, and they certainly do have the talent on the team to make things happen. It's just can they get all that, can they cobble the pieces together fast enough to make a worthy vehicle for this race? Because at the moment it looks like DC have, I mean, it's an old vehicle, but it's still running, whereas everybody else is still trying to figure out the particular problems that their little go-kart has.
So it's a 1985 baby blue Toyota Corolla. Everything in perfect
like
working order.
Yeah.
5 forward gears.
That's basically DC.
It's got a good clutch.
There you go. So I mean, the other guys we must maybe also mention is VNR, because I did a video with Bananas on his retirement, and he's come out of retirement specifically for this tournament. And I mean, Bananas is a guy with a ton of firepower. I recall getting wrecked by altitude from an absolutely dizzy height on Mirage a couple of years ago at DGC against them. So I mean, I know that he's one of those game-breaking sort of players. BurningRed, do you feel VNR have an outside chance here, or am I reaching a little bit just because I liked Brad's fingerless gloves from DGC last year?
No, those are quite cool. I won't lie. Like, look, it's VNR is a definite possibility here, but it's going to be tough for them. I mean, like, I think I would go with Sean on here, looking at XD as the third potential team to take the silverware. But, hands down, at this moment in time, I still feel like, it's DC's tournament to lose. I mean, another thing that Richard obviously mentioned in the chat, the fact that not having Bravado and Ian there will give them the opportunity to pick up silverware for the first time in a very long time, and give them that confidence potentially that they will start to regain momentum. But looking at VNR, I think I would place them fourth at the moment. They're very difficult.
Trust in the gloves,
they've got
dude. Trust in the gloves, the fingerless gloves. I mean, did you
that's
see
the
how
thing.
how well F3 went
Brad,
last year in Masters because of those gloves?
Well, that's the thing. If Brad steps up and does what he does and does what he did at Masters last year, we could potentially see VNR pick it up. I mean, it'll be great. It'll be good for the scene, of course, but it's difficult to say, I guess. I would go with DC first, XTC second, XD third or second, one of the two, and then potentially VNR also maybe to throw an upset there and maybe pick up third or second place maximum.
So the other guys we're not mentioning here is Aperture Gaming's there. I mean, their lineup has had a few changes. I think Shizzy's now part of that lineup. I mean, he could potentially add to that. There's Ventus as well with Unreal. I mean, they were looking really good before Maniac and Zip moved over to XTC. There's some potential for them. White Rabbit Gaming, really unknown quantity at the moment. They had a good performance at the last Masters LAN, but now they've again had changes. Puffy's back, actually, and Beast has moved over to XD. I know they beat Big Five last week on 2 maps in scrim, so but you don't know with WRG. I mean, they overperformed at the last LAN. Don't know if they're going to do it at this one as well. I mean, they took a map off DC, if I recall. And then we also got Pulse, who the guys who won the Middle States Matrix Maverick Challenge recently. I think they'd be wanting to take a big step up because now they're facing higher caliber opposition. They need to now prove that Masters is where they belong, in the overall scheme of things. And of course, they've got some experience in somebody like Shaz. They've got some exciting players like Casimir, but I think for them, to come anywhere but last would be a really good, progression in terms of their position in Masters.
So before I just go and burn myself,
oh yeah.
I'm gonna go through the rosters quickly actually for the Masters before I confirm those those positions.
Oh,
because I do feel
again.
that
I just was going for gut feel here, man.
Look, I mean, we are kind of talking about the 4 teams here, but like you are right, there are the teams like Ventus and WRG and Aperture that potentially could cause upsets as well. But I'd have to look at their lineups now because I haven't been keeping track of their lineups for quite some time.
I think in general though they're all relatively unknown quantities. I mean, look at how long last since we actually really saw them on a broadcast. So it was Masters and with different lineups in the middle of winter. So quite a long time ago. Yeah. I don't think we can really make any judgments. Unfortunately, the OCS games haven't been streamed, so we don't really know, or the ESEA games, or the majority of ESEA games, so we don't really have a baseline to work with. But yeah, I think let's say overall DC look odds on, XTC look like the guys you're probably going to challenge them, and if XD can string together back-to-back maps once in a while, maybe they can too. So yeah, we'll see how things go there. Let me just quickly see, where are we? Okay, so next thing I think we would maybe talk about, we've got a woman in our presence tonight, and she plays in Energy Finesse, who is taking part in the ESL Women's Winter League. Maybe tell us a little bit about that, because we haven't really seen anything of it. You guys played 3 matches so far. How is it going for you guys?
It's very nice. It's eye-opening and definitely quite a challenge. It's, as you say, international experience. It's so nice, especially different from playing South African groups. Like, it's all fair and well, the women's group is growing exponentially after the Valkyrie challenge. Like, girls teams are popping up left, right, and center. But it's really hard to play against a set group of girls the entire time and having to scrim them and play them because unfortunately there's no game in that when you start beating teams over and over again. And it's very nice to play against like ROG females and some of the very big names that are out there for the international girls, and just their game style, how they play and stuff like that. Unfortunately, as I said, it's so hard to play with 300 ping. Jeez. Because on stream you look like an idiot. You go around the corner and on your screen the view model hasn't even come in yet.
And you're dead.
And you're dead. So, but it's very nice. Like, even we always said that it's not for us to win, to go in and absolutely destroy everything. We go with the mindset that we are going to learn something from this. And it is so nice to see how disciplined other teams play overseas. Not taking those over peaks, just playing for information, playing just not even to peek someone, just to hear a footstep and know where you're going and stuff like that. It's definitely quite amazing that we have the opportunity to even take part in something like this.
Yeah, well, what's amazing is this biltong that I'm eating at the moment as well, I must say. Sorry if you guys are seeing me eating. I just did the NAG podcast back-to-back with this, so I haven't had supper yet.
Hashtag rude.
Yeah. I would offer you some, but it's not like I could give you any. So, question with those servers, Christin. Where are the servers that it's 300 ping? Is it in North America?
Germany, yeah. Nope.
Germany, okay.
It's quite hard. Yep.
Jeez, 300 ping. So, that's really difficult to deal with.
It's a bit rough.
Yeah, definitely for me, I get 300 ping. Everyone else is lucky to get like 220, somewhere around there.
200, 220 is what I would be expecting to Germany. But yeah, 300, I guess, cause since you're at the coast a little bit further away, I guess, maybe. Yeah, that's a crazy one. Yeah, it's got to be the routing. We'll ask the network engineer BurningRed a little bit later when we all want to fall asleep.
Well, I've got a quick question, though.
Yeah?
Have you played PUBG? Because that runs on 220 ping. Might help you a little bit with anticipating shots, etc. No,
except my PC gets 20 FPS on that game.
Yeah,
I've heard that from multiple people though. That's like
but I
they're
run
like,
on a potato.
why is my computer lagging in this game?
Yeah, it's not well optimized, unfortunately. I mean, I know you play a lot of PUBG, Christin. Is it like a slideshow?
Definitely. No, but I think you can see my setup in the background down there. Like it's not the best. I play on like spare parts, and I just recently, because someone gave me just out of the blue, I've been playing on a 16-inch screen the entire time. So it's been very different now playing games on like that's why I love LANs. Give me a proper computer and we'll see where it goes.
So you're not even playing a 144 or anything?
No, not a 144. Like I don't know how. I get 80 FPS on cache for Counter-Strike. So.
Ouch.
Wow. Okay, that is just crazy. That's okay. Newfound respect. I won't give you crap when we play matchmaking in future. Wow. Okay.
At least we broke our streak last time and didn't lose, so it's a ban.
Yeah, that's true. I must also just mention we've played a fair bit of matchmaking. We seem to always end up on Overpass, and we always seem to end up against hackers. So
it's always fun.
Yeah, it was great.
It's matchmaking.
We won the other day. That was good. So.
Yeah.
So in the ESL Women's League, I guess is a nice hit out for your team. Are you guys also participating in the season's ESEA and in OCS, those sorts of tournaments as well?
Yes, we just signed up now for ESEA, and definitely we started taking, because we put DGL on the back burner, knowing that the Valkyrie Challenge was coming up. So we kind of left that, and we've actually gone from, I think, like rank 120 to 30-something within the last month or so. So we're quickly running up the ladder there. But yeah, making it very evident that we actually want to be taking part, and not just in like a girls team, but definitely taking on the boys.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. And also it's often you find when teams have limited exposure in terms of competitions, they tend to break up. So it's good that there's all these things going on that you girls can actually keep playing and keep competing and keep improving. And maybe next time you guys play Profeci's LOL team in LOL Jokes team in ESEA, please wreck them.
I'll make sure I look out for that.
I don't think Christin was in that game that we played anyway.
Oh yeah. Okay, so she was the one person missing. So I just want a quick shout out to Easy Studios, my boy Siegel, Clarence. Yes, Nate is sitting still, very very still. So hernia. We just want to keep that one going. I think that's important. We definitely need to keep the hernia going. I mean, don't have a hernia though. It's not good. But
no.
Yeah. So the Immortals breakup. We keep talking about this week after week. KNG, the whole I will find you and I will kill you kind of thing. I mean, it wasn't exactly that. I'm sort of paraphrasing with Taken there, but KNG to FNS at DreamHack Montreal, where they miss the first map of the final, and then the little bit of a tweet war, and then the real life attempted find him and hurt FNS. So KNG's now been removed from Immortals, and Lucas and Henny have requested to move to the bench because they're stupid or crazy or something like that. So thoughts on this, people?
I don't know, like
what you said, basically. Stupid and crazy.
Yeah.
It's just like, what team is going to pick these kids up? Honestly, like, what team is going to knowingly get involved with these kids? Like, sorry, let me put it this way. What reputable organization is going to pick these kids up knowing what they know? That you got one guy who got hammered from all the outside evidence that people seem to intimate. He was drunk at the night before, didn't pitch up to the event, got upset because somebody made a joke and then threatened the guy, right? It's just like, what the hell? Like, you're not going to get a team as good as Immortals again, ever. It's just not going to happen. And I just can't see, like, I mean, yeah, maybe that team is good enough to make it to a major, but what event is going to invite that team? They'd have to go through every single qualifier, and knowing the teams that they could get, they're probably going to be having to play from Brazil, which means you're constantly sitting with lag issues. I don't know. I just don't know. That's like Henny and Lucas, I think, are probably like the most idiotic about the situation. Like KNG like burnt his bridges, but for Henny and Lucas to be like, no, we will be playing with him. It's just like, guys, you're basically signing your careers away right now.
So, they can add in FNX, who's also been put to the bench because of behavioral issues. I mean, I know from speaking to various people that he's pretty much into partying and snorting things too. So, I mean, they could literally, have like a mountain of cocaine on the table in front of them and snort it all before the game, get really drunk, and then miss the final again and again and again, and it'd be great if they actually get there. It's
crazy.
It's
not gonna happen.
It's crazy. Christin, what do you think about the situation with KNG? Were you an Immortals fan?
I was quite the Immortals fan. It's like it's really sad to see that people get such a huge opportunity. I mean, you wouldn't show up to work like that, so that is their jobs. Why would you do something as stupid as that? And like, people are throwing away opportunities that they get handed to them. It's crazy how stupid people can be, honestly.
Indeed. But BurningRed, you're involved with the tournament, ESL Africa, of course. I mean, if you're looking at it from that point of view, I mean, I assume the decision that DreamHack made, you'd probably agree with it. If the players are that late for a game, you would force them to forfeit.
Yes, we would have to. Because, I mean, if you look at it like what's on the line and what's being kind of done behind the scenes, etc., like teams need to take responsibility for their actions. I mean, if you've got a multi-million-dollar tournament that you're hosting, and I'm not talking prize pool here, I'm actually talking event.
What it costs to put it on.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, the team, they need to understand that, look, there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake with regards to production, all of it, organizing, planning, flights, accommodation, the works. I mean, then you've got the guys that'll play for the prize pool. And also, in certain cases, the content that gets created from these events go to television. And when you start to walk into the television sphere, you need to know that things need to run by the clock, man. Like, it has to be perfect. If it's just off by a couple of minutes, and we're talking 10, 15 minutes, it could cause a catastrophe. Now you've got a team that rocks up late. Well, the best thing to do and to keep to schedule, for example, is to call the forfeit and say, sorry, guys, that's just the rules, It's also very difficult because, I mean, if you don't have that in your rule set, if you don't have that in your rule book, the team can counter it and say, hey, why are you doing this now? You've got no rule that's covering your admins to make these drastic changes, if that's the case. Nor you have any sort of rule in your rule set saying that, look, it'll be a forfeit if the team pitches up late. But if it's there, the team just needs to acknowledge it. And that's where the responsibility aspect comes into play. And it should be the case with any sort of big tournament that gets hosted. Teams need to understand there's rules and regulations when attending these tournaments, when getting flown in, when getting flown out, depending.
Sure.
So I understand the tournament organizer's point of view. Look, this is my personal opinion. This is not the opinion of ESL or Queso or anyone. This is my BurningRed opinion. I do feel that it just needs to be laid out straight. And what happened there, well, that's, on the end of the day, that's someone takes responsibility for it. And I think it should be the team.
Yeah, right now Penguin is blaming Hernia Man for going to bed early because he's tired and he's a little old lady. So, but this is Penguin, of course. I mean, he is a little old lady. We know this. So.
Never late and fatigues, also headaches. Right, I get migraines 2 migraines a day, man.
Fatigue and headaches. Come on, man.
Grow the mustache.
Grow the mustache. Be Ron Swanson. But I mean, I agree with you there, Ed. I mean, the whole big stick approach when you're a tournament organizer, it kind of has to be just because the thing is on a schedule. If we look at it, there's also behind-the-scenes information that they were also late for the semi-final that they played in and then weren't penalized and then were late again for the final. They dispute this, but of course they would. It's just a crazy, crazy situation. So we'll see how that one develops. I mean, it depends on, is it going to end up being a situation where they start a new team, somebody gives them an opportunity. I agree with you, Prof. an organization would be utterly nuts to actually work with these people just based on what they've done. I mean, they've done amazing things in Counter-Strike, but from a business point of view, from a handling yourself point of view, it's been absolutely disgraceful. So, I mean, maybe there's an opportunity for an org that wants to be infamous for whatever reason and get their name out there. Maybe they can take them up, but it's an interesting developing situation. I guess we'll see where it all goes. Any final thoughts there, guys, or shall we move on?
I think we've dealt it.
The dog is dead and it has been buried and kicked.
Pretty much.
Yeah, it's horrible to use dog analogies though. That sounds so cruel. We'll go with horse. The horse. Okay, wait, that's cruel as well. We can't go with anything. But anyway, Ely Group C was what actually just happened last Friday as well. I mean, that's a little bit of international Counter-Strike there. Cloud9 getting past Envious, which is not really
stomping them.
Yes, getting past was probably being kind. Let me actually switch the browser here just so everybody can see what we're talking about here. It's Cloud9 dominate Envious to top Group C at E-League Premier, and that was on Friday and Saturday. And dominating is true, 16-2. Ouch.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think maybe the place we need to start though on this one is Nip, because BurningRed is here and he likes Nip, so we need to wreck him.
I do.
That's how this works basically. I mean, we know this is an established rule by now. BurningRed Nip fan, Nip didn't get through, wreck him.
Yeah, that's
I don't know. I don't know if we could really wreck him. I mean, Nip, they didn't play great. But then, like, Virtus Pro was a dog show. Envious was also, like, up and down. Like, the problem is, like, that whole group, I think, is like, very, very... I mean, we said it beforehand. It's such a difficult group to call because, like, all those teams are sort of in a stage where they either have new players and are trying to figure themselves out, or they're just in, like, a complete slump and don't know what the hell they're doing anymore. And that's the thing. So I think Envy coming out of that looking, I wouldn't say good, but like par. I would say par for the course. It's just the problem is Nip had a terrible last series. They looked dominant against VP, but then I think, just about any team in the world would look dominant against VP. You know,
right now,
Slack Division 2 South African Team X versus VP would look dominant at this point.
Energy Finesse versus VP.
Oh, that would be brutal. That would be like 16-0s all day long.
For who though? That's the thing.
Definitely for you guys. Have you seen VP of late? But yeah, I mean, Cloud9 I think did enough to get out. In my personal opinion, like their victories were like the score lines were big, but I don't know, like I can't really get that excited about it because, like, look at the teams that they were playing. Nip is on the up, but the problem is Nip at the moment is still trying to figure out what the hell they actually are, and that's their biggest issue right now.
Any thoughts on those teams there, Christin?
I'm quite the diehard Shroud fan, so it's quite a loss that he's still not in Cloud9. But yeah, definitely. I think getting used to the new lineup that they still have, and they're getting used to it quite quickly from an outside perspective. Hopefully they progress faster and keep it up as they're going. But definitely they have such good individual talent. They just need to find that synergy, and I think that as soon as they find that, definitely can run far with it if they're willing to.
Yeah, plenty of skill in that lineup, and arguably minus Shroud is actually better for the team as much as Shroud is a fan favorite there.
Yep, definitely. Like, the guy's nice to watch on Twitch, funny as hell, but obviously he started wearing out towards the end when it came to teamwork and stuff like that, and wasn't fragging as hard as he should have been, so quite a loss, but on the other hand, it's a good thing. But obviously people don't like change, so...
Well, talking about people that don't like change, VP. So, Nate, I mean, you've been casting for a long time, been involved with CS for a long time. VP have been the same since 2014. Is it time to pack it in there, man?
It's a DC thing as well, very much, some of them. It is.
I was
But
waiting for that.
before I get to VP and before I get to NIP and before it's NIP, by the way, it's not just saying. Before I get to Shroud, I want to quickly just jump onto Cloud9, and something just, in my personal opinion, from what I've watched Cloud9 recently, is that they perform so well in North America. And yes, people are probably going to tell me I'm talking cuck, which is fine. But they perform so well in North America, and I almost feel like it's a home turf thing for Cloud9 at the moment. I mean, E-League's in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And just had ESL New York, and they did well there. Do you not think maybe there's a little bit of home advantage here for this Cloud9 team, or well, for Cloud9 in particular? I mean, maybe it's just something, because every time I've watched them play in Europe, they suck. They didn't like. I think there was one event that they did right, and that was it ESL 1 Cologne? I think they did okay. They got into the semifinals, or it might just be.
It wasn't Cologne. It was. I know what you're talking about.
Well, they won Sao Paulo last year.
Nate's referring to Cloud9's. Give me a moment. Like, I know which event he's talking about. I just can't remember the name of it. But they made the finals and then got stomped by SK in the finals. I think they got 3-0 in the finals, if I remember correctly.
Well, you'll find it for us, Mr. Trivia Man.
But yes, like, so for Cloud9, I almost feel like, yeah, that's like they've got a little bit of home advantage going there for them. That's just a personal feeling I have towards that team. Talking about Shroud.
Oh, it was Cologne. It was Cologne. Sorry, Nate is correct. It was Cologne.
Look at that.
So, talking about Shroud now. You cannot tune Shroud. He's a god. You know why? Because he hangs out with Dr. Disrespect. And then that is all I have to say about that. Yes. That's all I have to say.
Such a terrible person.
I know you don't like the Doc at all. Like,
yeah, Nate really is a member of the Slick Daddy Club, so...
Yes. I mean, come on. Stash. I really want to check. But just quickly, like, jumping back to VP, like, look, I mean, VP is like all over the place now. Now they're changing IGLs again. If I'm not mistaken, I think Snacks is...
Snacks is taken off. It's not Taz.
Snacks has dropped it now. Now it's Taz back on IGL. And I almost feel like you're not going to get anything better out of VP anymore, because it's literally the guys are starting to get to the end of their careers. I mean, it's just, I guess, I just guess that's how it is. I mean, if you kind of look at DC are also, they can restart their campaign and actually maybe go another 2-3 years. But I almost feel like for VP, like either VP has to drastically change their entire way they approach things and maybe give them the opportunity to restart. But yeah, it's very, like VP, I don't think VP are going to last for much longer. And then if you look at NIP, now NIP is in an interesting situation, and you're 100% right, Sean. Like, they don't know what they are at the moment. I mean, they've got some good old legends in the team, but I do almost feel like they need to replace more. They need to bring in more new blood into that team. And I'm saying, in a sense of maybe keep Forrest around and get right, or exist. Take 2 of the original players and then take 1 more out and put another really good 20-year-old hotshot into the team. That might actually give them a good opportunity to become maybe a 4th place or 3rd place team in the world ranks. But
never thought you would say that. I mean, geez, you were like against Freiburg being removed.
They assassinated Freiburg. That's why he no longer cares. Downfield fails.
Well, no, he's playing for Optic now, so I'm not supporting Optic. Am I? No.
Not that we know of yet.
Or maybe, I don't know.
Thank Mr. Freiburg.
Yeah, look, I mean, it is the case with NIP. I think they don't know where they are, where they stand at the moment, and I'll have to go with Sean on this one. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, any final thoughts there about Group C of E-League, or shall we move on to what's happening this weekend? Sure. He's got more to say. What's this, guys?
I'm sorry.
I'm just giving you crap, man. I think let's jump to Group D quickly. I'm going to just bring up the browser here for everybody so you get to see. Astralis versus Liquid on Friday night, well, midnight, and then SK versus Heroic. So that's a pretty stacked group if you look at it. Although Astralis and SK haven't been that great lately, and Liquid have been on the up. Heroic have just been, but they did, of course, in ECS League over the weekend, or the Development League, deny promotion to North, which is quite interesting. Heroic actually beat North in a BO5, which is crazy. So
Heroic are massive one-liners, though. Let's be real about that.
This is true. Yeah, this is true. Yeah. So I guess we can't read too much in that. So opening game there, Astralis versus Liquid. Quickly, we'll just go through each of you. Who's taking that one? Prof, start with you.
I'd like it to be Astralis, but on current form, I think Liquid, eh?
No, good point. Christin?
You really think it's Liquid?
I think it might be Astralis.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Diehard fan, yet again.
Jeez. Okay, Prof's also a diehard fan, and he actually went against them. So, yeah, the world is tilting on its axis even more at this point, just based on Prof's prediction there. BurningRed, it's Astralis versus Liquid.
So, you guys know that I don't like Astralis, purely because you guys like them so much and fanboy so hard over them. But I do feel that Astralis is going to win this one, and it's going to be the start of their return to power. That's literally it.
The start of the return to power.
Yeah, I mean, I think every very good team has to go through a dip sometime in the season or seasons per se. And I think for Astralis, look, the other thing as well, they've got a very good looking psychologist.
Oh,
and I'm sure that adds value to the team. But the pure fact that they've got a psychologist tells me that, look, if they do win a good couple of games, and if they start beating teams like Liquid and they start going up one by one, like, they're going to start returning to that top spot again. It is just it's a phase, excuse the pun, it's a phase of, or it's not really a phase, it's more like just a slump.
It's a phase. I see what you did there. But anyway, moving on from hot psychologists, she has a nice ass, I'm going to just put that out there as well. But I will acknowledge that, but I don't think that's going to help Astralis. I mean, Device has a nice ass too, and you don't hear us saying that's why he's going to win. So,
can ask Christin, I guess. Does he?
I think Liquid's got to take this current form. I'm with Prof. So 2 against 2 on that one. Then we've got Heroic versus SK. I will start us off on that one. SK will do unholy things to online as Heroic. They will not be heroes. They will be paupers. Prof.
Get out the gimp suit, because I think that's what's happening to Heroic this weekend, eh?
Christin?
It's going to be ugly.
SK is by far my favorite team, my favorite organization, just everything. Like, I rate Fallen as controversially one of the best players in the world at the moment. One of the best minds, absolutely. What a smart man.
And he has a glorious beard, so that also must count for something.
Yeah, it definitely helps.
And BurningRed, what's your opinion there, Heroic or SK?
Slumperino. I think that SK are still going to drop a little game or two, and I think it's going to be against Heroic, funny enough. I'm going against the Tide here, man. It's one of those gamble moments.
You're calling one of Astralis. You're calling one of Astralis. Or SK. No, wait. You said Astralis was going to get through, so you're calling Liquid SK to be the first round, loser knocked out. Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
I'm just going on a gamble with that one, to be honest. But
so I mean, if we look at the overall thing, then I mean, are we all standing by the people that we're predicting to win those matches? Are they also going to make it out of the group? I mean, top 2 go out, the bottom 2 do not. So I mean, from my side, I actually think it would controversially, well, no, not controversially, but I'll go with Liquid and Astralis to actually make it out, even though Liquid will beat Astralis in the first round game. What do you think, Prof?
I'm thinking. I think on current form, I think Liquid SK. I think SK gets out the group first. I think they're gonna slam Liquid in the winners match.
Didn't happen at
That
ESG.
Astralis Liquid. Yeah, but I'd still not put my money anywhere other than Godzero, mate. That dude is.
Godzero.
Yeah. He's like what Sonic is in SA, but to like the international level. He's like a I can't lose hack, almost at times. So although he has been going through a bit of a dip, look, I think SK gets out in first, and then that Astralis Liquid best of 3. I'm genuinely not certain. Like I think Liquid on current form, but Astralis could beat them.
But they've got a lose hack called Stanislaw, like you can go minus 84 in a best of 5 series.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm gonna call Astralis to get out ahead of Liquid. I think Liquid beats them in the best of 1, loses to SK, and then Astralis beats them in the best of 3.
Sure, world's longest prediction. Thank you, Prof.
Sorry.
Just kidding. Christin, what do you think there? Who are the two that are going to make it out?
Same prediction here, Astralis and SK. I definitely think if you get Cold Zero firing at all calibers and you just get that in, definitely walk out quite easy with that. Although Liquid's been doing quite well, I don't rate that they actually have such like a good experience behind them compared to other teams. Like, yeah, they have some very good individual players, but team synergy wise, I just think Astralis might be able to take it over them.
Okay, well, that's very, very valid way to look at it as well. I mean, Liquid have made a couple finals. Maybe they're going to drop off a little bit. Experience can be a factor there. BurningRed, it is D-Day. Who are the two are going to make it out? Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with Astralis SK for these two, like for the two. SK is going to drop a game, but they should be able to get out, and Astralis is going to have a flawless way out 2 games. So Astralis will pick up 2, SK will drop 1, and then win 2. And I think that might, I think that's probably the outcome here. It's very difficult to predict. I mean,
you could very well be right. The only thing is that heroic SK one is a bit of an outlier. But okay, we shall see. We shall see who shall be vindicated. I will definitely be looking at what's going on there while we're at Rage next week.
So yeah, some terrible drink is on the line. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we'll look at what happens this weekend, and depending on what happens, somebody is going to be getting drunk at Rage. We'll just put that out there. Is it a deal?
Yeah. Confirmed.
Confirmed. Okay. Cool. So, I mean, we've pretty much gone through everything. I mean, it's been a relatively quiet week in CS, I think, since, that sort of flurry of activity of big events overseas. I mean, we opened the show talking about ESL Africa. We've also spoken about VS Masters at Rage. I think, depending on whether we manage to get a show out next week, I don't know if we will, but we will definitely try because it'll be a busy week. But maybe let's just go with some quick predictions go over them for ESL Africa and VS Masters. So starting with ESL Africa, who's going to win it, Prof?
I think Limitless wins.
Ooh.
Best shot, I think, is BVD. If they know how to deal with Limitless's aggression, I think BVD is second. I think it's going to be close, but at the moment, from what I've seen, I think Limitless probably has it.
Sure. Okay, that's a bold prediction. I think a lot of South Africans would take issue with that, but speaking from the facts, Christin, what do you think? Are you going to speak from the heart here?
I won't speak with the heart for the first time ever. A woman not speaking from the heart, which is quite weird. But I quite agree. I think Limitless might actually take it.
Wow. I mean, they have showcased some tremendous firepower, though. I mean, Keops looks like God entry number 1.
Yeah, definitely. Like, especially that aggression. I don't think quite used to it. We'll see what happens. Definitely be a show to watch.
Yeah, it's going to be quite something. BurningRed, where's your prediction lie?
All I have to say is like, these scrubs to my right. The boys in blue are going to take it. It's going to be a bravado win at ESL Africa. Let's all be honest. It's home turf. Limitless they're going to come very close. And we might actually see all 5 maps. It's going to be super close. But I just don't think they got the map pool to do it. Bravado's going to take it. I'm sorry. They're just going to take it. It's going to be a 3-2 or something.
Sure. Okay. So if essentially what we're calling is in first semi-final Vibra versus Bravado. Bravado move past them, and Limitless versus Energy. Energy get knocked out by Limitless, and then we're kind of split on where it's going to go. And I'm not going to help you because I'm actually going to say I think Bravado are going to win it. So
we're also under the assumption that's how the bracket's going to go, but I do think it's going to go that way. Yeah.
Well, I really hope the bracket goes that way.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it will.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's really exciting. We've also all pretty much unanimously said for VS Masters, we reckon DC are odds on with the XTC, the guys who give them the hardest time. I mean, anybody want to change that prediction, or are we all standing firm in unanimity on that particular point? Unanimity. Say that fast.
Unanimity.
Wow, you get a gold star. Okay, so no dissenting voices there. DC to win it against XTC in the final.
I'm going to go with the XTC win.
Just
because I want to actually go against the Tiger.
Okay,
I do feel that XTC is quite good.
We were unanimous. Now we have been broken already in 2 yet again.
I just want to cause controversy. I'm kidding. I'm going with DC on this one.
It's going to be the last. It's going to be the last march of the Ents. That's what I'm calling. DC's gonna wake up and they're gonna wreck some things.
Sure, the last march of the Ents. Look at those Lord of the Rings references there.
They might only wake up around about I don't know. What's a good time that old people wake up?
Finals map 2.
Really early and go to bed really early.
Definitely.
So for you, dear viewers, you guys haven't asked too many questions this week. I think last week we spent about half of the show between myself and Prof and Ep4 actually answering questions. So no questions for us today, but my question to you guys is if you'd like to win an MSI extended gigantic enormous mouse pad and also be in the running to walk away with some cool Red Dragon stuff after Rage. We're going to decide on a few winners on that after Rage. There's a gaming mouse, there's a keyboard as well, and a headset. So some really nice stuff from Aperture PC there, potentially that you could win. For now, if you'd like to be in it, just tweet myself and Profeci at Extremes at Profeci, and tell us why you're the most magnificent thing that ever lived and therefore deserve the mousepad. So, can you fit that into 140 characters?
Well, some people could.
Yeah, I can. I'm a Twitter god, so I mean that's been established already. So we're good there. So guys, if you want to win that, just tweet at Extremes and at Profeci, and tell us why you need that mousepad in your life. So, guys, any final thoughts before we sign off on the show for today? This is, of course, CSGO Deeper, sponsored by Aperture PC. What do you got to say for yourselves? We'll start with you, BurningRed.
Does Aperture sell, like, webcams? Because I like the hernia look in this one. It's really cool, but I think it's a once-off. You don't want to make another episode with a hernia look.
No, I definitely don't want another one. I do want you on another episode. I think it's been really entertaining hearing BurningRed not being quite as professional as you usually are. I love that. Gold star for that one. I'll definitely buy you a drink based on that. But yeah, Aperture PC do sell webcams, so definitely head over there. I'm sure the guys will get you a good deal on something that works and isn't a potato with a lens embedded in it like what you have now.
Yeah. I would appreciate it, but thank you very much for having me on the show tonight. It's been all the cast, or whatever you call it.
It is a show.
The vodcast. It's a vodcast.
It's a live stream and a VOD, so it lives forever on the internet. Whatever you've said now, you will be crucified for later. So, kidding. Christin, any final words?
Yeah, it's been great being here, adding my 2 cents, making you guys think differently, definitely going against your guys' words all the time. It's been fun being the devil's advocate.
Well, the Devil Woman has spoken. Definitely, definitely good luck with the ESL Winter Women's Championship as well, and your 300 ping. Hope you guys do manage to knock somebody over. Maybe you find somebody else who's on high ping as well.
Hopefully, we'll see about that. Thanks.
Cool. Well, good luck for the rest of the season. Maybe we'll see you at Rage next week. And then, Mr. Prof, any final words? Yeah.
No words.
No words. There aren't any. We used them all up. Okay. So we are good. And yeah, I did see that hat, Christin. And if you bring it to Rage, I will wear it.
Definitely.
It is an absolute deal.
What is the hat? Let me just have a look again.
Okay, let's pull that hat out quickly.
It's got nice smiley faces. It's like perfect for extremes. Like.
Oh, you are kidding me. Dude,
it brings out his
casting
eyes.
in that.
I'm casting in that.
It's done.
What have I done?
Well, there's a specific match you'll be casting in that.
Okay, yes.
We'll leave it at that. That's the surprise.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now, so that could be fun. So yeah, ESL Africa coming up at Rage next week. We've also got the VS Masters and of course VSGC, the new name for DGC, with all the other games happening at Rage. Maybe there will be an episode of CS:GO Deeper next week. Maybe there won't, and if there is, maybe we'll get like somebody like Moses on it. You know, you never know. I'll twist his arm. I'll try my best. So this has been BurningRed, Christin, Profeci, and Extremes. This has been CS:GO Deeper, sponsored by Aperture PC. Thanks for watching. Axe out.
Yes.